Okay, what is going on, everybody? So, man, I have I think, a really awesome guest. So, a couple weeks ago, I had Matt. He is a Chop Tank River keeper here on the Chop Tank River that I live by. And every Wednesday, which I think I'm going to hook up with him soon. He's been pretty busy, but he takes water samples and he keeps track of all the bacteria, if it's good, if it's bad, if you should, especially around the areas where he knows there might be little beaches or places that a lot of people swim. I really share a lot of his information on my Facebook page. But today, Austin showed up, and he is right around the area where I grew up. Now, I live on Eastern Shore now, but I grew up about, what would you say, a mile, maybe, I'll give it a mile and a half, 2 miles at the most, right away from the Back River poop plant, water treatment plant, whatever you want. It's a poop plant because in the summertime, woo-wee, back in the 80s, man, when you had the windows open, it was just a smell you just got used to because the crap plant was right down the road. But what he does is that he really does a lot of cleaning up, and I think he's very, very, very important for the Chesapeake Bay. And we're going to talk to him. I think he's going to be an awesome guest. This is going to be a little different. We're not actually live. I'm pre-recording this so I can actually edit and put some stuff in here, because when you don't have a producer and stuff like that, and you're doing it by yourself, I like to put more videos in and everything. So we're going to take this and we're going to introduce you to Austin, because I think what he does, and he's smart. Good grief. That dude knows. I don't know if he's just got a phone and he's reading it or he just knows all that stuff, because I'm telling you, because he knows some really good stuff.
So the cattail is an amazing plant in its own right. These guys are also prolific trash capturers. Has many beneficial qualities and uses. One of its secondary uses out here on the Chesapeake is it offers great structure for climbing vines, like this riverbank grape. This is, of course, like the name implies, a vine in the grape family. These grapes are edible, but they're known to be one of the more sour-tasting grapes. However, it's said once they start to ripen in the fall, they can turn into a great jam, jelly, or syrup. These things are indigenous to North America. They really only like to grow in wetland, marshy type areas, hence their name, the riverbank grape. They'll use these cattails as climbing structures, and they will climb as high as 75 feet. Obviously, a cattail isn't going to grow that high. More importantly than how humans can use them, the wildlife of the Chesapeake Bay region loves these berries. For its great foraging for things like deer, ducks, raccoons, and muskrats. There's been efforts to try and hybridize this grape with more sweet-tasting grapes, because this is one of the most drought and cold-resistant grape species alive.
All right, so let's get on with the show and let's rock and roll. All right, let's bring my man up. Add him to the stage. Wrong one. That is the one I want right there. All right, so this is Austin. Austin, what I'd like you to do is really kind of, and look, you're buff too, man. See, honey, I used to look like that when you met me.
I got the buff camera lens on here.
But you, so I seen you on Facebook. You popped up out of nowhere, and you're right down where I used to grow up at. All right, so Austin, I really found you, and I think you do a really good job. Now, I want you to explain to everybody, tell them all your name and exactly what you do at the Back River Restoration, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, so, well, it's kind of, I guess, a two-part situation here. So the channel you saw me on, that's my company channel. I own a life and disability insurance brokerage. And so as the owner of the brokerage, I decided to, first and foremost, I wanted my business not to just be, some other one of the many millions of other insurance financial companies out there that are just basically out there, trying to make a profit, which I'm a capitalist, profit's great. But I wanted it to be about more than just making a dollar. So I guess what would be the right word to use? I guess you say partner. I partnered with a charity called the Back River Restoration Committee. I'm also actually a board member. So I started out as a board member first, and then as a employee of the charity. It's called the Back River Restoration Committee. I pointed to the wrong side. It's called the Back River Restoration Committee. That's the flag right there. That's a little emblem. And so you'll find my videos both on my page and that'll be like the logo here. This is my company logo. And then you'll also find them on the Back River Restoration Committee page. I do the content for both. And so, yeah, that's the short story of it. I just wanted to partner with somebody who was already making the change I wanted to see happen, and they're doing a great job. They got a great setup. They operate. Not only do they do beach cleanups around the S6 Dundalk Middle River area, and anybody can come out and sign up for that. We do them once every other month or so on the weekend. But also they actively run a trash boom through Back River, and that's what you see most of my video content stemming from, is us maintaining, cleaning, and operating that trash boom.
And that's like and that's like is that like that every day?
Yeah, it really depends. It's funny because it's almost like the trash is always out there. It just depends when it wants to show up, right? So normally in the past, historically, it shows up most heavily when it rains. Big rain,
Right.
lots of runoff, right? And a lot of stuff comes streaming in, and that boom, it's basically just at this point, it's probably 300 yards or so on each side of the river. And it pretty much starts at the 695 overpass there. And that thing just channels all of the trash that makes it to the boom. But there's a lot that doesn't make it. And that's stuff that we then go upriver to go get. There's so much vegetation out there that although this stuff is great, obviously, for the water and for many reasons, it also has a tendency to trap a lot of this stuff. So it can't actually make it to the boom. It can't actually make it to these barriers that we have set up so that it can be channeled to us. And so you're either watching me clear what did make it, or lately what we've been having to do is go out and clear what didn't make it, or what got past, because stuff can blow over. A hard enough storm will blow things right over. And our booms will break. Hard enough storm, hard enough current, that thing will snap. And a bunch of trash gets out, goes upriver. And so we'll chase it upriver also. So we're working pretty much that entire river system, and we've done a few things over in the Patapsco region as well, around Dundalk, and similar stuff, just going after as much trash as we can.
So explain what the boom is.
Yeah, it's basically just it's similar like duck lanes.
Is it a net, or is it just stuff that floats?
It's like duck lanes and bowling. It's two basically floating guardrails along the edges of the banks of the river. And so rather than the trash flowing up into the vegetation getting caught, which, like I just explained, a lot of it does anyways, especially in the parts obviously we don't have this set up at. But instead of that happening, it will bounce off of these things down the river. The current will help carry it as well. Sometimes the wind will help out. And we channel it down to a little ramp that we have on a lot. And Baltimore County actually pays for the lot. It's their lot. And they allow us to use it for our operations. So that's, in short, it's basically a floating rubber guardrail.
Is it just for the top, and does it have like a net at the bottom or anything? Well, you can't have a net because it would catch fish and stuff like that.
Yeah, so there is like an underskirt. It's not just the top. There is a little bit of skirting, but we're talking maybe a foot,
Okay.
Less than a foot above and maybe a foot below. And it kind of sits there just floating.
So now you're cleaning up. Like, do you go to Rocky Point and clean up around the beach there?
Yeah, so Rocky Point the county actually has some people that work Rocky Point. They have a little bit of a staff there.
How about Cox? So you do maybe Cox's Point?
Cox's Point, big time. Yes, Cox's Point has essentially nobody there to actively clean, and Cox's Point is one of the worst. It's one of the most trashed, I'd have to say, parts in Maryland. It's bad.
Is that where you were the other day? So you said like every other week or something you go to, like, I guess, favorite fishing spots where people fish. And it seemed like you were one of your last videos that you were just there like a week or two ago, and then you came back and it's completely trashed again with trash and little worm that, when you go to the grocery store, you go to Walmart or any bait store, and you get that little plastic thing of night crawlers. They're just leaving a night crawler, everything on the side there.
See how trash this beach is? It's not trash at all. Not the worst I've ever seen it. For those of you that follow the page, you know this is like maybe the third time we've been at this fishing spot in about 3 weeks. You can pretty much bet after every nice weekend, especially a holiday weekend, it's gonna be trashed, although it looks a little less trashed than the last time it was trashed. Get to use my new knife I just found. I got a brand new circle hook for you. That's expensive. Thank you. Special request from a friendly neighborhood boater. Try and get this tree out of the water. Well, there we go. Little baby crab came off of that thing. So this is either a baby Japanese shore came off of that thing. So this is either a baby Japanese shore crab or a baby European green crab. Most of the identifying marks that I would use to tell the difference, quite honestly, I just can't see. This thing is so small. But regardless, it's not an American anything crab, meaning it's invasive to these waters. Problem with that is obviously these things compete with the native blue crabs for fish and habitat.
Yeah, a lot of it is it's probably less fishing gear and more just beer bottles and trash, just random fast food cups and a lot of beer bottles, a lot of beer.
Well, we will definitely. I'll definitely be having one of them very shortly.
Yeah. So, but that particular spot is not a park. That's just it's like a little beachhead that just happens to be there right off of the Eastern Boulevard Bridge, right? And so that just was basically turned into a fishing spot. It's not actually a park at all. And there's a little bit of structure there. There's kind of like a seawall where a lot of people will cast off of.
Is that on a nursing side? Is that on the nursing home side?
Mm-hmm. It's right near the nursing home, exactly. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, I grew up there, so you're bringing me because I remember there right there at when I was younger. So when I was, a young boy, I grew, so I grew up. So we used to go down there, and there used to be a little pier. So you had to, you went over the back of a bridge right there on Eastern Avenue. They used to have a pier that went out. I wouldn't say real far, but still had a good pier where we used to go down there and fish. A long time ago. But I know there's been issues now. There's been videos out of pretty much raw poop, sewage coming from the back treatment plant.
Yeah.
I mean, you are all gloved up. You are pretty much covered because you can't. I would think the bacteria down around there it's got to be kind of bad. Do you deal with anything when it comes to the pollution, or is it just strictly picking up the trash and stuff like that and cleaning up the areas?
Yeah, so it's both. The committee was started, I think, in 2000. The charity was started in 2000. I want to say 2010. So I just recently joined about 4 years ago. And when it originally was formed, it was mostly focused on trash removal. At that time, I think it was pretty much nobody was doing anything about it, and the residents got fed up and formed this group. Since then, it's kind of evolved to where now we do our own water monitoring. So we'll go out, we'll do our own testing of the water, and we've partnered with Blue Water Baltimore to help get some of that done. And so we're doing a little bit of both. We've also started, we also have a bit of some of the grant money that the charity receives. We have to do things like plant. We have a bit of a quota to do certain tree planting and buffer zone planting. So the trash part of it is unfortunately the main focus because it's on fire, right? It's the most urgent thing out there really going on.
Maryland, I'm not taking care of your waterways. My Lord, dude. I didn't even see that. Up here at a popular beach right off of Eastern Boulevard. Literally here like 2 weeks ago. Cleaned this entire beach. And over the weekend, was trashed again. This is the second dead rockfish we've had wash up since we've been down here. No hook holes or lures in its mouth. Means it likely died of hypoxia or because of sewage in the waterways. Wondering why we have rockfish moratoriums and strict catch limits? You can see why. Real shame. Eight bags of trash from that one fishing spot. Yeah.
They also were pretty heavily, the committee, the charity was pretty heavily involved in bringing awareness to the idea back in 2020, 2021, that the Back River wastewater treatment plant was legally discharging routinely enough that it was noticeable high levels of pollution. And so that was one of the, I dare to say it was the impetus to the state stepping in. And not only that, but the lawsuit that then followed with Blue Water Baltimore and the state against the city and the plant. So we are as involved as we can be in all aspects of trying to get the river healthier. And of course, and so factor the bay, right? But
Yeah.
the trash is just so heavy that that's what requires most of our attention, unfortunately.
How many times a week do you do this every day? Or is it like, are you out there cleaning up every day? Or do you, because I know you run you said a brokerage. So how does that work? Are you doing both? Are you going out every day for a couple hours and cleaning up the area? Or is it like once or twice a week?
No, it's every day. Like you said, I'm doing both. So in the morning I'll head out. I do that every morning, and then usually back in my office by like 12 o'clock afternoon, and I work
Good
on
time.
these.
That's a good time with this freaking heat. You gotta be miserable with all that stuff on there.
It's it's starting to get a little. It's same deal as last year, and I'm originally from Florida, so
Okay.
I'm certainly not a fan of the cold. That out there, when we're doing that work in the wintertime, I'll take a day like this any day than a cold, windy day in February on the water. That's misery to me. So
Okay.
but, every day in the morning, and then back to business in the afternoon.
And
Sir.
I mean, I think you're really important. Now, do you pretty much stick around the Back River area, or do you actually how far do you expand? Is your area expand? Is it that whole area to where it comes out to maybe where Hartmiller Island is off to the left? Do you go out that far?
Yeah, we don't normally have to do much cleaning towards that end, and that's mostly due to the fact that we're trapping most of the trash up by the bridge. So the stuff that gets by normally collects either around Cox's Point or may make it to Rocky Point, but most of it collects around Cox's Point. We don't normally have to go beyond Cox's Point.
We used to launch our boat off there.
Yeah, I still do all the time.
The know that we used to eat crabs out of there. I mean, even back then, I mean, you don't know anybody. The whole bay, actually, I'm thinking for me, the pollution, I think starts with the Conowingo Dam. I think that's a big part of it. You get a big giant rain that puts so much water, they had no choice but to let all them gates open.
Yeah.
Every time they let them gates open, it's just it can be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, and it's not that I am totally focused on the bay wide right now. Physically, I can only be in one place, and so this is where I live. This is where I focus the work, but I stay pretty well up to date with the latest in Chesapeake Bay health news, and the Conowingo Dam, like you said, is pretty bad. Pennsylvania is lacking as far as the states that are supposed to adhere to the Clean Water and Air Act with the Chesapeake. I forget the name of it. It's a group. I believe it's is it? I don't know if it's the foundation. It might be the Alliance, Chesapeake Bay Alliance, but it's a group of the states that actually border the tributaries that run into the Chesapeake, and Pennsylvania
Right.
was sued by the other three states, Virginia and Maryland. Maybe Delaware might have been involved in that also. But I know Virginia and Maryland had, and the EPA had sued Pennsylvania about a year ago in regards to how much runoff pollution was coming from their farms, their agricultural land that borders the Susquehanna. So a lot of the destruction that you see, the trash is like just a physical reminder that this is not a well taken care of body of water. But most of the destruction is coming from the chemical pollutants and stuff that you don't necessarily see. Obviously, the wastewater treatment plants are adding to that, but a lot of the agriculture that goes on in Pennsylvania is dumping excess nutrients into this water at rates that were so bad that they literally got sued over it. Now they're supposed to have a goal of meeting certain levels of pollution by 2025. The original goal was like maybe 10 years ago. They were supposed to have hit this metric, and it keeps getting pushed ahead, right? And Pennsylvania is like probably the main, I guess you could say, the main contributor to a lot of that type of pollution. And I see there's a lot of people that obviously are connected to the water, a lot of famous crabbers online, TikTok. And some of those videos you see of the sewage that they find in the water, and the alewives that are eaten up with disease because of the pollution. And a lot of them will say it's the wastewater treatment plants, which is of course true. And a lot of them will also say it's not because of the farms. Farms aren't causing this. And I always try to remind people, it's not just one thing. It's like it's a quadruple-headed monster. It's everything and above. It's the runoff from farms. It absolutely is the runoff from farm. It's just a fact that excess nutrients runs off from farms during heavy rains. And excess nutrients, and excess nutrients in the water not only causes hypoxia, right, the lack of oxygen, but the main root of that is from algae blooms, right? So it's simple logic, right? The very same toxic algae blooms and just regular algae blooms that you hear every year about, well, those plants are blooming in such great numbers because of the very chemicals that farms use to let their plants grow and bloom, right? It's very much so connected, and it's not a slight against farmers. Everybody knows and appreciates the work that farmers do, and stocking the shelves of our grocery stores. It's a matter of just figuring out a better way.
Matt, when I had him on, he was telling me that a lot of the farmers are putting the cover crops in, so you can see, the cover crops that are all green in the wintertime and everything. That helps, that really helps. So he's down here on a chop tank, and chop tank is one of they were saying it's probably one of the worst rivers on the Chesapeake Bay.
Because of the runoff.
Because a lot of the runoff where it's gotten better. And if you listen to Matt, he was saying like right now with no rain, he's saying because we had such of almost a drought situation last year that the water quality got better as you came up the bay because of it. Now, when you're going to get this big giant rain, nothing's going to stick. If you get like a storm or something, everything's going to run right off the top of it. If somebody really wanted to help, and because so people can volunteer to come help you. And you said like you do it every other month or once a month or something like that, where you'll have an area and then you'll get a bunch of people to come over to help you clean up and stuff.
Yeah, the charity does weekend cleanups, and they'll choose a local beach or a local park. And they know in advance, okay, it's been a while, it's probably pretty trashed, because it's always pretty trashed. And anybody can volunteer to come and help us with that. And anybody can volunteer to help us with the boom work. It's just not a matter of just showing up, though, because we do operate skid steers and boats and whatnot. So there's a little bit of liability there that somebody actually has to opt in and sign a bit of a waiver to be able to do that work with us. But That's certainly open to the public also.
Do you set them up with the oil skins and all that stuff?
Yeah, we get waiters. We have waiters gloves. You know, I don't. Everybody yells at me for not wearing the gloves. I'm not a big fan of the gloves. I get a lot of
Yeah,
negative
why? How would you?
comments.
I was just thinking about that. You know, it's weird.
Yeah,
I was just thinking about that the other day. I'm like, you know, it's pretty dirty in there, and he's going into
yeah,
the sink. You were showing the plants the other day with your hands. I'm like, hey,
yeah,
dude, you're like. So I mean,
yeah.
have you?
You know, it's for me a matter of being comfortable, right? If I'm not going to be out there in 90 some degree heat, and I'm already wearing you know, non-breathable waders, as they can't be breathable since they're trying
Mm,
to keep you dry. For me, it's just a matter of being comfortable. I'm not comfortable wearing gloves. I cannot stand them. I don't wear gloves for anything, not working out, nothing, right? So it's more of a matter of like, do as I say, not as I do. I would recommend anybody who
right.
comes down, wear gloves. But I've been doing
Yeah.
it for a good little bit of time. I know when to reach into a pile. I don't reach into piles, not, you know, unless I can visually see everything that's in there. Most people see me grabbing single bottles, right? There's no risk there. It's just, you know, I'm not reaching into big piles of trash and pulling stuff out by hand. We have, you know, forks and grabbers for that. But yeah, I mean, it still drives people nuts to see me do that. And I get it, but you know, I always say, you know, if you want to come out and wear gloves, more power to you. You know, come out and help and show me the effectiveness of the gloves. But you know, until then, I'm gonna stay comfortable and keep doing what I know. So
Well, maybe on a Wednesday, when it's a little cooler out, because a fat guy don't like hot
yeah,
weather.
yeah.
You don't like wet.
So imagine the hot weather and
Yeah.
waders. You know, you're wearing your regular clothes, then you're in waders. You're out there in the sun. Of course, it's sunny, right? Usually summertime.
Mm.
There's no shade, right? You're on the water. Now imagine putting on, in addition to all that, rubber gloves. I mean, you're gonna be sucking wind. It's gonna be terrible for you.
Yeah,
And
I
then
do the same thing. In the
yeah, then eventually
wintertime,
the gloves get wet, right? They start to sog because you're gonna get wet with sweat or water, right? Because even
okay.
rubber gloves eventually start to get a little waterlogged, and you're like, this is gross. So yeah.
Talk a little bit about your brokerage company too.
Uh, yeah, I mean that's I mean you asked earlier a way to help. Um, Believe it or not, right? I get a lot of people offering their time to come volunteer. A lot of people commenting, "Hey, how can I help?" But the fact of the matter is, nobody's ever showed up, right? Nobody's. And we're talking probably at this point hundreds of people who have, and I've sent them the information, right? And that's not a that's not a dig on these people. I believe they really want to help, but you know, life gets a hold of you. Uh,
Hmm.
it's not many people have the luxury of what I have, which is that I operate and own my own business, right? So I make
Right.
my schedule, which means I made this a priority to go do as a part of our company mission and brand. Most people don't have that luxury. They have a 9 to 5, right? And they have kids and they have to do stuff before they go to work and stuff when they get home from work. It sounds great, and I'm sure you would want to actually come out and help, but practicality wise, it's not happening. And so what we're doing is offering a solution for that, right? For people who do care, would want to help. And of course, everybody, now I don't know one person who either doesn't understand the importance of or need life and disability insurance. So
Right.
we're offering people a way to take care of the insurance needs that they will and do need and be able to satisfy their will or want to clean up their community, namely the Chesapeake region. So that's how people, I would say, you know, yes, volunteers welcome, but also if you can't volunteer, which it's likely most people can't, then that's what I'm here for. And the way I keep being here to be able to do it is for you to support our business. And it doesn't have to be necessarily you purchasing, right? I'm just talking to a fictitious person here
Hmm.
who wanted to help. It doesn't have to necessarily be you, but just referring us, right? You say, you know, because like I said, it's one of the most common services that people need is insurance, especially life insurance. And you
Yep,
know,
I got
probably
it.
yeah, probably spent half my days in this industry, maybe explaining to people how important it is. But I think on some level, everybody understands its importance. And so, for a product or a service that everybody needs, and for a larger community goal that everybody wants, we've created this company to try and satisfy both.
Like, so do you like fishing?
Oh yeah, yeah, big
What kind of
time.
fishing you do?
Whatever wants to bite. I'll fish for stripers, cats. Sometimes I'll go after the little white perch. Like I'm from Florida, so I'm used to throwing. You could throw a damn lure in a gutter and pull out a largemouth. Man,
Yeah.
in my eyes, fishing don't get better than South Florida. So I was pleasantly surprised. I try to go out maybe a couple times a month if I'm able to. But yeah, I love fishing. I love crabbing. I love being able to use this beautiful resource that we have. Right, that's why I'm so obsessed with taking care of it
Have
because
you,
yeah,
when's the last time you've been crabbing?
last year I haven't done it all this year.
We're
And actually,
fanatics on it.
I was crabbing. The last time I was crabbing was on the Eastern Shore. I got family in Laurel, Delaware, so we go to the Nanticoke, and I try my luck down near Bivalve or not far from Sharptown. I'll take my boat out and do some crabbing.
So right out of Sharptown by the bridge and everything, that's a good spot.
Mhm.
Good blue cats
Yeah.
down there too.
Oh yeah, them catfish are everywhere. That's a great thing that you got that license. That's one of the things I try to harp on is
Oh,
these
no.
things need to be caught. There's some guys. If you've seen Ernie the hog snatcher,
There you
he's
go.
a fisherman down. I think he's fishing out of mostly the Anacostia, the Potomac, and oh damn, that's a big one.
41 pounds, man.
Oh yeah. So some of these guys will catch them, and they're doing it. They're filming it all, and they're good at catching big ones just like that. But then they'll let them back, they'll let them loose, and kind of
Well,
drives
them
me
kind of
nuts to
fishers,
watch.
like, what do you, but what it's, you know what? So sometimes I don't believe this is very hard because they need to come out.
Yeah,
But then you sit down there and you catch, if you don't have no place to sell them, you know what I mean?
and you're planning
Especially
on eating it.
commercially. But
Yeah,
even if you're catching them, you go out and you catch 4 or 5, 15, 20-pound catfish. A lot of people say, what are they going to do with all that? That's why I mean, I can't see unsensibly just killing them to kill them. You know what I mean? I know a lot of guys will, you can bleed them and just throw them up on shore. I don't believe that. So it's that's a really weird for me because you got to take them out.
it
But
is
then if
weird.
you got,
It is weird, and that goes into like a whole subtopic of Chesapeake conservation, and I've had several arguments with people in regards to invasive species out on the water, mostly over plants.
Mhm.
Now, when it comes to the fish, you know, if you don't want to eat it, I got you. But you probably should kill them. But I understand the naturalist in you not wanting to. Like I totally
Yeah.
get that. Yeah. But best practice would be eradicate that thing because it's eradicating a lot of the fish that we fishing and crabs that we kind
Mhm.
of put at a higher premium in this area. And one of the really calling signs of being in the Chesapeake Bay, right? That blue crab, that rockfish.
That's why it's called
So
crab shack, buddy.
yeah, exactly right. So, but the plants, I have a lot of people who have had taken issue with me over the fact that I'll speak about because a lot of my videos I like to talk about nature, right? And
That's cool.
just
That's what I like about it.
yeah, my appreciation for it. And I'm certainly no expert. I think people think because I'm talking about it that I'm an expert. But dude, I'm doing everything just like you. I'm Googling stuff. I'm learning right along with everybody. Right? I don't have a bank of naturalist information in my head. It's just what I learned myself. But I'll talk about both the negatives of some of these species, some of these plants, and the positives. And there are positives, right? These aren't just like alien plants from another planet. Like
Right.
these plants exist somewhere else on our planet. And at some point, everything existed somewhere else on our planet, right? And so I don't know where people get off of saying, well, you know, there is no benefit to this type of plant. It's absolutely destructive. And they get mad at me, and I'm like, look, that's not true. Like every plant has some use, some benefit. Everything in every ecosystem has some use, some benefit. Even leeches have some benefit, right? Like even mosquitoes have some benefit. They fit into the ecosystem in some way. And so regardless of whether or not you understood that or believe that, it's still a fact, right? There's a really invasive plant. You guys probably have them, Japanese knotweed. I'm sure you guys have them. These things look almost like bamboo, right? And they grow everywhere. They grow through concrete. They grow pretty much anywhere that a plant could possibly have ground to grow. These things are growing. And overall, they're pretty much negative, destructive. They crowd out, they keep away natural plants from growing. They actually they're allelopathic, so they exude this like toxin into the ground that actually is like a natural it's basically a natural deterrence from other plants from growing, so only more of them can grow. And they grow in these thick thickets. But these things actually have been shown by medical studies to have compounds in them, resveratrol being one, that can fight cancer. And they also are known to produce some of the most nutrient-dense honey, some of the sweetest honey that it can be found in the world, right? They flower, and bees absolutely love them. And so I spoke about this one time on video, and people went to town. That's not true, and this, that, and I'm showing them the studies. Eventually, like in social media world, it just gets to be not a conversation. It quickly goes from being, not from a conversation to an attack. But yeah, I mean, I feel you on that sentiment that these things are still living creatures, they're still living things, and everything was from somewhere else at some point, and they all have their use and function, and they can have a use and function here as well. I think people kind of get caught up in the hype of invasive, and they don't really realize that. And even if blue catfish, their only use here could be to be a kind of a supplement to the commercial industry. Well, that's great. Like we need that because rockfish is on the decline every year, right? Crabs are on the decline every year. So if these things can live in these waters and they taste good, and we can sell them, and commercial fishermen can keep their jobs, right? That's win-win.
See, that is a big issue because Captain Robert Newberry that I've talked to, he said, why if you guys want to get rid of these fish, he says he can show you how to get rid of chunks and chunks of these fish. Give the commercial guys a half decent price for these fish. You know what I mean? If they're trying to promote them and everything. He said you can take your commercial guys with their boats, and all you got to do is just do that electrical shock thing that you're doing. And when they float to the top, you can have them just scooping these damn thing. I mean, because I watched even Camboris in an area where they're shocking, and there's like thousands of them coming up.
It's insane, right?
And if you got like 10, 15 commercial boats sitting there, knowing you can get some kind of money, I mean, you can go into different areas and literally eradicate hundreds of thousands of pounds at a time.
Yep. So I think that's got to be the future of that, is like you said, making it such that it's a viable, source of something to harvest. And in the meantime, I'll be doing my best. I love to eat them, and to be quite honest, I'll eat them at the mouth of the Back River. And I'm not going to eat them, upriver, but I'll eat a catfish. I'll eat a perch right out of the mouth of the Back River where it meets the bay. And I'll eat them, all along the bay. It's, for me, it's I'm not going to, I know people get freaked out about what they know to be the pollution levels. I totally get that, right? But at the same time, I don't want to demonize it to the point where it's like we can't recreate in this. We can't swim, we can't boat. We unwillingly, I take swims in Back River every week, right? Falling off the boat, tripping over logs, right? I mean, I'm taking unplanned swims all the time. I'm
Well, that's
still
good
here,
for you.
and I don't have any cancer. I don't. Yeah,
you're young, and see that's what when to me when the COVID thing was, it's like, all right, let your kids go out and freaking go get dirty and get them out of the house, and let them eat some dirt and get your immune system built
Yeah.
up a little bit. You know what I
Get them
mean?
all the tablet. Yep.
The All right, so if you want to get in touch with Austin, I'm going to leave in the description all his contact information. If you want to, hey, you need some life insurance, he can help you. If you want to go out one Saturday down around Back River, I mean during a week, and go work with him a little bit and help pick up some trash, maybe take the kids out to take the kids a little bit to kind of see all the trash that's out there that maybe
Yeah.
you get that in their head, while they're fishing, you
Yeah.
know, take them fishing, maybe take them out to pick some trash up and then take a pole with you and get them out and do a little bit of fishing to show them by leaving it better than you found it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's what
Absolutely.
they always said, that if you go out to a spot and you see some trash, just take a little white, even if it's a little white baggie, and throw some trash in and take it out and put it in where it belongs. You'd be surprised the impact you can have on a kid doing that very early.
Yeah, and that's, if I had to leave like a overall message, there's a lot of people that, especially since COVID, I don't know if you've noticed this, a lot of people have started to go into business for themselves, right? A lot of businesses have been opening. Now, of course, you know, maybe that was because we were getting flooded with free money, and maybe a lot of those businesses have started to close up. But what I do know is that there's been a record amount of businesses opening here in Maryland for the past 3, 4 years. And this, and it doesn't have to be this, right? I mean, I chose this as our mission because it's my home. I care about it, right? And I think it's one of the most treasured pieces of land in the country, right? Among others, no doubt. But as a business owner, as somebody who is out there looking to create a successful company, I want to show proof that you can do that off the back of a charitable mission. Now, whether that's feeding the homeless, helping out veterans. I'm also a veteran of the Army National Guard, and so I appreciate the companies out there doing work with veterans. Black Rifle Coffee Company, Valor Home Roofing. They build free homes for veterans every other month. Uh, I think I'd like to leave the message that starting a business and running a business off the back of giving without necessarily receiving. I'm certainly not rich. My company's not in the Fortune 500, right? We started doing the charity work, and before we got the money. And I think a lot of people have it backwards. Like, oh, okay, well, I make enough money, my business does well enough, we can start giving to charity. Like, no, you can do it at the same time. And I'm trying to be proof of that. And in fact, if my theory is correct, I think the act of actually doing it like that will promote your business above your peers. And I think that act of giving and wanting your business to be a vessel of improving what we have going on here in Maryland in this country, I think that's the future of capitalism. I think the way kids younger than me, right? They're fed up with capitalism. They don't believe in it. And I
Mhm.
think the only way we can get people to believe, because I believe in it, right? I've seen the good of it, but I think the only way we can get people to believe in it again is to show that it does actually work, right? Before we started leaving social programs and social welfare to the government, right? It was big business that was taking care of that, and a lot of big businesses do still. And that's one of the probably most untalked about points of capitalism is that it's one of the best vehicles for charity. And it seems to just kind of go unreported in many ways. But I think that these people that are out here starting new businesses can really take what I'm doing or many of the other bigger companies that are doing it even better, and improve on it. And if like I literally would love to see another life insurance company come do this exact same thing because that's in our all of our best interests, right? And I think that would be a great thing. And so I'm trying to make it cool. We call it conscious capitalism. It's kind of a buzzword for it, a hashtag for it, if you will. But it's real. And the funny thing is that a lot of people who see the hashtag conscious capitalism think that it's some sort of hippy dippy, you know, leftist, you know, leftist movement where nature is our first priority. But no, it's not that at all. It's actually business caring more about the community than caring about a profit. Um,
Yeah.
and again, the hard truth, I think, well, not the hard truth, but I think the reality is it may be a little bit slower, but I think caring about the community, caring about where you live, in fact, increases your likelihood of making a higher profit. It just may be more of a delay, right?
Right.
It might not be so quick if you were to be more unscrupulous, but I think it's there. And I think there's people out there proving it, and I'm trying to be one of those people. So I encourage anybody else listening who's, looking to get into business to consider that type of branding, that type of mission for their company.
The I just think it's good work. Like I said, you kind of just like Matt didn't know that the chop tank had a river keeper, and I didn't know there was somebody out there all the time cleaning up down around Back River where I grew up.
Yeah,
And it's so it's just them little things are just little things like that. You know,
yeah,
Picking
absolutely.
if you're fishing, pick up your hooks, pick up your line. Don't leave the line around. That's I've seen so many videos of people where you got animals in the tree and you got stuck in the tree and or in the water and the one bird had got the hook on his thing, but the line was wrapped around where he couldn't open his mouth. But
Gotcha.
so he actually grabbed them and he actually got the line off and everything. So
It's the most ironic thing in the world to be a fisherman, a hunter, and be driving down the road and chuck your cigarette butt out the window, or to leave your
yeah,
beer bottle at the fishing spot. Right? It's the
yeah,
most ironic thing in the world to be someone who actively enjoys nature and wildlife, but then contributes to destroying it. It blows my mind.